It is moving week in NRL Fantasy 2025. It's time to really start setting up your team for the next bunch of weeks that changes the structure of how you play fantasy. So lots of us have got quite an increased team value now, probably around maybe 1.5 million. From there, maybe a little more if you're doing well. There's a lot of people still making a lot of money. However, in 3 or 4 weeks, we're probably going to have like 7, 8 of these guys who are peaking kind of at once. And you've got to figure out who's a hold, who's a trade, who's a buy, and how you're going to navigate that period of the season, because you're not going to have quite enough trades. So I'm not one to say, trade, get rid of everything now so that you can fix that problem. No, you're going to run it at the back end of the season. But it's not a bad idea to keep that wheel moving if you have guys who are potentially plateauing a little earlier than others, so that you can keep that wave going as long as you possibly can. Now, you can see that I'm really strong on that this week. I don't have many problems in my team. Only one not really either a gun or making money at the moment is probably Munster, which is a bit of a shame, but I'm confident that he can bounce back a little bit. And, well, Grant had a good one, so I can't call him that. But yeah, Iongi just hasn't really worked out. There's potential for him to start making money if the Eels attack goes well, but he's not done anything for a whole month. I think it's time to move him on. Jenkins is popping up at the right time. To'o's out for a month or so, and he's got some good price rises just kicking off now. I definitely think he's going to be a better choice than Iongi for the next while. Kautonga, also Jack Williams out for 6 weeks. He's just solidified at pretty much 80 minutes in that edge role with centre duel. That's really nice when in a few weeks you might be starting to think about getting rid of a couple of these guys. Like maybe Noanganita serves his purpose. He crawls up to 100k, price rises, and you look to move him on for one of those wing fullback guns, or you cash down so you can upgrade somebody else, like a Jack Cole, to a keeper level position instead of another moneymaker. A lot of us probably have 5, 6 really strong scorers in your team. Like for me, I'd say Haas Horse, Terrell May, Jamie Humphreys, Nathan Cleary, Jaden Campbell, and maybe Munster are all guys that I expect to be the 50 plus guaranteed, not even going to think about it. Grant, Seyfarth, White, Humphreys, Fisher Harris, they're all guys who are probably going to stay there for quite a while, but they're also ones that I can flag for upgrade targets if they don't turn into those keepers or they peak in, say, 2 to 3 weeks. Now, who should you be looking to move these guys to? Well, probably not this week, but in the next couple, there's quite a few players actually who are going to be ripe for the picking at that time of year. It looks like a very high squad value year this year. So let's have a look at some of those guys you might be looking to switch, say maybe Nwanganita or a Cole, perhaps a Tamale in a few weeks' time. So let's have a look at the price change last round. Zach Docker Clay, I know somebody who got on last week, shout out to them. I think it was Ham. And on the opposite end, we've got some very tempting options opening up. So Turbo, yep, injury, that's not going to happen for a few weeks, but when he comes back, he could drop almost down to 500k flat, which would be absolutely astonishing. Reece Walsh dropping a lot of money. He's not kicking as much now, and they're running their attack a little bit differently, but I still think with how the way he's scoring and the quality of player that we know he can be, like a 475k Walsh just seems like a really good upgrade target. Jeremiah Nanai, he's on the bench still. Let's have a look at his minutes, because I think his minutes aren't necessarily terrible, but they're not 80, that's for sure. So yeah, 58, 33, 50. If he keeps doing that, he's going to rush down towards that 400k high 300s price, potentially even lower. And if he does come back into the starting side, play 80, then he's going to be a huge moneymaker. David Fafita, does he play Origin this year? I mean, Billy didn't seem to wanna put him in. If we get a Fafita in a couple of weeks, David Fafita, yeah, still got a high break even. If we get Fafita in a few weeks as his minutes come up and his fitness comes up, etc., for sub 600k, that's the biggest steal of all time. That's like Cook in 2019, 2020, when we knew he was going to play 80 and he went from 500k or so to like the top scorer in the game. It was great. So keep an eye out for these guys in the next 2 or 3 weeks because they're going to just be incredibly valuable to shoot you back up to those keeper level scores at a discount price. Even somebody like Luai, that it's tax kind of not really going through him as much. Galvin's doing a lot. But if he does turn it around, we were looking at Luai with his potential role at nearly 600k at Munster price. If he drops a lot lower, there's somebody who we can go to as well. So yeah, that's probably about it for those guys, except for maybe Brendan Piakura. Jordan Ricky is out this week, so Piakura is probably going to play 80. If he can halt his break even down, if he can halt his price drops, which I mean, pretty easy, he's basically basement, and get back that 80-minute role, or at least be the 50-minute guy instead of Kajewski, he will be a buy. There's probably not too many more on this list, I would say, but those are ones that I have in mind to come into my team in the next month or so. Drinkwater as well. He had a good score. He's one of the guys who might be turning it around. Hasn't dropped that much, but just keep an eye on him for later anyway. All right, let's have a look at some of the scores going around. And can I just say, what was in the water this week? I didn't realize how well I'd scored because so many of you guys were really, really close behind or even beating me in a lot of the leagues. 558 round rank with a 966. Let's have a look at some of these leagues here. So I had the private head-to-head, 950, 992, 966, 957, 950, 951. There's some crazy scores going around. And I think one of the biggest that I saw was a little comp going on with another server. Look at that. 9, 60, 40, 60, 40, 50, 70, 60, 50, 50, 40, 40, 60. That is absolutely unhinged, you guys. And that's why I call it moving week, because the serious coaches with their well thought out teams are really starting to push up through the ranks now and really come up towards those higher rankings in the top 1,000 as that sort of early season luck cancels out after 4 or 5 rounds. So last one that we'll have a quick look at is the Battle of the Podcasts. Always love that one. I've moved up to 3rd, but I mean, look at Austin from Amateurs, 993. Nick Degens, 988. Incredible, crazy scores here. Couple of movers. Jamie's pushing up a bit as well. Well done to him. And yeah, Bryce and the Echo Chamber really right next to each other, doing pretty well as well. Actually, they're pretty much all next to each other. That's pretty cool to see. But yeah, going well along there. Very interested to see who can push up high in the next few weeks, right into that upper echelon. Okay, so the last part of this moving week requires that there be movers, the cheapies that we're going to jump on in advance of those sort of discount guns or those upgrade targets later. So some of them you might already have. Some of them, a few people might already have. But you've got guys like Nafahu White. Is he still a buy? I think with everybody back now, we're going to get a really good idea this week. But I mean, it's too late to jump on when he's already 600 plus K next week. I think he's established that he's the best forward in that pack, the best middle forward in that pack at the moment. and I think they're going to give him 50 minutes going forward. He's not going to score 63 in 50 minutes, but I still think there's a bit of money left to be made in there and maybe some really good scores going forwards. Anyway, the next couple are sitting around here. So Tom Jenkins. Brian Tyler is out for a month. So MCL? No, that was Turbo. Anyway, so Tom Jenkins now in that Panthers side, very assured of his spot. He made it last week before that injury, and he just seems a really good straight swap for Iongi. Gigioni Kautoga as well. Looks like he's going to get 80 minutes. He was looking a little bit slow just before halftime, but he really pushed up. And 44 from a basement centre edge duel is juicy as it comes, pretty much. So if he can keep smacking out those high 30s and low to mid 40s, that will be brilliant for your team. The other one that I have to mention is one Dylan Egan. Now, with Emre Gula suspended for 3 matches, that's really opens up for probably Couchman as well, but especially Dylan Egan, who came on and played 20, 30 minutes in the middle, and then also some edge. Now, Hamish Stewart, I think, is supposed to not be as badly injured as suspected, so it's not going to be as sure a thing. Otherwise, I would have probably had him as the cheapie of the week over like a Jenkins or something. So if you're looking for that extra bit of coin to make a trade work, and you're like upgrading to a Jaden Campbell this week, or you're going really spicy and getting on Trell straight up, Dylan Egan looks a really solid shout. But there's a couple of other really interesting names popping up as well that we might not have thought of. So probably not buys straight up because of the guys that are making money right now. Low break even's got a really good solid role potentially. Not so much in this game. I would caution against Hiroti being one of them. Talakai has 1 week. 1 week concussion protocols. Don't jump on Hiroti. He's the odd one out of this. Similar teams for these guys, except Ira has done his hammy and Talakai is out. That's why Hiroti is sitting in there. Panthers. There's our lovely Tom Jenkins sitting in the centres. Alamotti and McLean on the wings. Standard looking Panthers side, except To'o and Sorensen come out, and Nathan Cleary goes straight back in. And do you captain him this week? Terrell May and Haas have basically proved that they're going to score 70 plus this year, most of the time, or a good deal of the time. Do we even really need to captain Cleary, set and forget anymore? I think that's what makes this season really, really exciting. Against a Cowboys team that you might think is on the weaker side, I don't know if you can call them really weak anymore after that impressive win last week. So, and the Panthers were kind of a bit clunky. I mean, I haven't seen the Panthers look like that for a long time, probably longer than 4 or 5 years. 28-0 at halftime is pretty insane when we know what this squad has done. So that's also probably affecting Cleary, I suppose, if moving forward the Panthers aren't as good and there's not as many assists, not as many goals, but he's Nathan Cleary. Fade him or don't captain him at your own peril. I still think he's getting 65 plus average this year for sure, not even thinking about it. Yo's there and abouts. Just watch Kai O'Donnell and Nanai and their prices and stuff like that. Zach Labour also in the reserves again this week, but Purdue has had a game or two that's been a lot better than its first few, so we'll see how that plays out. This is the big one. I am very excited to see Trell back in the centres. So Jai Gray played lights out. He's done that a few times with Trell out now, and I think he's finally going to get a shot, at least to say, hey, let me stay in this team and let me stay in the starting 13. With Latrell Mitchell at centre, I'm keen to see if he goes hunting for the ball and is hungry. I really want to see fit Trell. And if we see fit Trell sort of playing like a Joey Manu, but even stronger and more tackle busting, like that is going to be one of the most glorious centre duels of all time. All right, Humphreys, does he keep goals? Very interesting. If he doesn't, oh well, he's still a brilliant scorer and moneymaker. I'll be very interested to see how much Trell kicks and whether he gets goals. that type of stuff. The Hubner returns. If you sold him, probably have to watch behind crossed fingers now. Going to make money continuing from here. I think it was very good in those first two, and he's going to get opportunity. Centre's there, Sandon's there. White's still starting prop with all these guys in at the moment, except for Radley. Radley is... Did he go under concussion protocols? Oh, cheekbone. Okay, so cheekbone injury did end up being something like that. But I do worry for Radley. He's had a failed HIA and then two other HIAs that he did pass, but it's not a good look for his tackle technique and his future prospects long term. Maybe the Roosters need to look at how they're training these guys, because there's a few guys, even like Lindsay Collins as well, that are pretty susceptible to those type of things. We had Rhea Hargreaves gone with that. So, yeah. Connor Watson back for everybody, though, will be very juicy. I'm going to be scared of that because I rage traded him straight back out to Jaden Campbell myself. All right. Tuipulotu probably is going to score more tries than he did against Storm, etc. But the other guy, that's the one I was missing. Riley Smith is starting. There's no Hands. There's no Lussick. The only guy there is Dylan Walker, who can play hooker if he needs. But that smells like 50 minutes at least to Riley Smith to me, and we know that he's a pretty good scorer. This is what you're hoping for if you jumped on him early, and if you're in a dynasty draft situation in like Supercoach or something, I think it's a really good time to pounce on somebody like Riley Smith, because he could be there for the future for a good while. Anyway, so Riley Smith, get a load of him. Isn't necessarily the most urgent because he's stalled with those couple of lower minute games, but yeah, watch out for that one. Yeah. Hamish Stewart is actually named. I didn't realise that he was named. That's quite interesting. But yeah, Dylan Egan probably going to play that Faitala Mariner role and maybe even get a few more minutes. So we will see how that turns out. Okay, moving on to Titans and Dolphins. What do you do with Brimson? 49, but it took 2 tries to get there. Isn't a great sign. De Groot, yeah, if you jumped on De Groot, you got burned, unfortunately. His reserve grade stats are worse than Iongi's, I think. So, yeah, tough watch if you're an owner from now on. Watch for Feeder's price. No Gilbert suspended. Would you sell him? He's a good stepping stone. He's kind of one of those guys you can use to get moving because he's stalled pretty hard. And, I mean, in a month, he might be 50k more than he is. Do you want that in your team? Do you need it in your team? Do you need those 45s to 50 scores? Solid, but there's other guys doing a job at the moment, so I'm not opposed to selling him. Okay, here's the other one. Keep an eye on Luke Lalili. There's no Fatape. Something's itching in the back of my mind that's somebody else out, so I will check casualty ward. This is a good way to figure out if you're going to get trapped on. Oh, there you go. Yeah, Skeleton. Ignore all comments on Laulili then. Skeleton will come straight back in. Latu Fainu is in there for a game because Luai is suspended, and that is going to be an interesting edge pairing. And we could see Payne Haas up for big minutes again if some of these still aren't going to play 80. How good was Seyfarth, though, turning his early season form around? He's been a tough watch as an owner, just literally scoring only by tackling, but maybe they'll go right side and give him some more ball now. Anyway, that's pretty much it. Oh, no, there's one more game. Can't forget my Storm. The Harry Grant and Munster owners, as in me, are very keen to see how this goes. Again, no turbo. Interested to see how Garrett goes, but yeah, nothing really standing out as buy or a sell for them. Pappenhausen will kick goals though, so he's probably on the list as an option. Maybe that's an interesting option to upgrade Iongi to If for some reason all your cashies are still firing except Yongi and you're still making money, but I would really look to get somebody like Tom Jenkins and Kautoga in just to keep that money flowing. Maybe Pappenhausen. I'd say maybe to go next week, but then he's only got a few weeks left before Meany comes back. Maybe he keeps it. Don't know. Hughes in the reserves as well, so watch out for a late in. I'd say might be the week after, but we'll see. Wishart is a very good fill in. All right, that's about it for my fantasy side. Let's have a look at this juicy Supercoach. If you've watched Jamie's video about Supercoach already, you've probably seen him a bit filthy that he didn't end up on a really massive score. And fair play to him for scoring 1182 with a Turbo C. That's a very, very strong effort. I'm glad that somebody who sold Turbo, I wasn't really damaged by that. And yeah, it ended up turning me into a much better rank than I thought, considering I did the really handy move of recording a Supercoach video and then reversing my Humphreys trade to show my strategy. And Nathan Cleary was sitting as a lovely do not play there about 10 minutes into the game, and that was pretty devastating having started so well. But yeah, my thoughts this week are, what the heck do I do with Iongi? Do I go Arthurs or Toya to Jenkins? Because yeah, Jenkins in Supercoach hasn't changed price yet and has a -94 break even. Kashi centre wing of the year. Just get him into your side. I just don't see Arthurs as that guy. You know, he's always been that guy that, oh, he'll score tries this year and he'll do better. But he's done that now. He's had a low game, and that big game is about to go out of his rolling average. I'm thinking taking the money and running is not a bad strategy, because Toya is going to get to a lot more than 300k. I'm not super confident that Arthurs is going to get to a lot higher than where he was. But yeah, Shibasaki was great for me last week. Didn't own Preston like Jamie, but well done for that. I've got to figure out what I'm going to do with these other guys now. I've got Hubner back. Royce Hunt is here. Do I just punt him into the sun? I probably don't need to play with this position too much, because there's a lot of good money makers there. Hopgood, I could move him around, but really it's all going to be, do I get like a Nico Hines in this week and put him in the halfback 2? Do I bring a Jaden Campbell in this week, put him in 5'8" for Metcalf? Or do I upgrade Iongi to like a Pappenhausen or something? I can almost reach Latrell, but I can't, so I'm probably not going to do that. Teddy's also interesting to me, and quite low owned as well, so I might give that a shot. Actually, what is Teddy's upcoming schedule? So, he's got a pretty high break even, but I mean, he's also Teddy, one of the best scorers in Supercoach for a reason, year after year. Okay, yeah, okay. I might hold off on Teddy and I'll probably go with like a Pappenhausen. But yeah, Iongi as well probably has a bit more money to make from here, but fullback is such an important position. I don't know whether I can afford to sacrifice points there, given that I can make a lot of money in other positions. So that's where I'm sitting at for Supercoach. Managed to push up into second in the Podmasters League, which is crazy. There's a lot of brilliant names there. I'll have to try really hard to maintain that, because I'm not a historically brilliant Supercoach player. I've never really nailed centre wing before, but I will take that for early season. Watch for a big Jamie rise coming soon. He halved his rank last week, and I betcha he's going to push pretty heavily up the ladder shortly. Anyway, guys, that's pretty much the vid today. In summary, it's a really important week to decide who your stepping stones over the next maybe month or so are. How are you going to start that is very critical to go to figuring out who you are able to target in round 6, round 7 onwards, because you may be a player behind, or maybe you've traded one too many cheapies in and you don't have anybody that you really want to trade out for those upgrades. It's a really important time to just sit back and go, okay, what are my pathways? Pick 2 or 3 players who you're flagging for potential upgrades later. And of course, look at the guys who you're potentially upgrading them to and see, is there a pathway to them in a couple of weeks' time? So I'm probably double trading for cheapies and then upgrading next week to, yeah, let's see. Next week, there's a solid chance that I do upgrade like Nwonganitawase or maybe even I don't know, man. It's so hard because I don't want to trade many of these guys. Maybe if Munster fails again, I just accept that he's not quite going to be there this year, and I flick him to another really good wing full centre wing fullback. If Latrell goes red hot, maybe that's my pathway to get to him as soon as possible. So yeah, think your trades through because they're going to become very important, and you don't get 3 trades a week for another couple weeks yet. So if you're behind the 8 ball, you might be able to make it up, but there's going to be a lot of grabbing and running going on. So make sure that you're prepared. Who am I going to captain this week? Haas versus Tigers. Oh, May and Haas versus each other. Or Cleary versus Cows. Let's have a look at the distribution as the last thing to finish off. Yeah. Moving week, I say, because before lockout lifted, top 1,000 from the last week, averaged 890, and the new ones are 30 points above that. So there's a lot of coaches pushing up. Look at that. It's crazy. Very, very strong from the leader there. And yeah, that's still not updated from last week. So I'll be very interested to see the split. I'm going to go out on a limb and say Terrell May is going to be most popular. Maybe Terrell May for 45%, Haas for 30%, and Cleary 25%. I'd say it'll be pretty evenly spread this week. Maybe Cleary will be even lower. But yeah, I'm not opposed to just sticking solid with Haas. 67 when he wasn't offloading at all because of the rain is just danger. Danger for other teams. And I mean, hasn't really gone wrong yet. So thanks, guys, for watching. Bit of a ramble one. I'm still figuring out my thoughts as to what I want to do in the next few weeks, but there's just a lot going on. Make sure that you have a think about what you're going to do these next few weeks as well, and enjoy the Thursday game.